The events of this story begin on the latent continent. The main character, who is clearly in a hurry somewhere, meets us first. The street was very bad, strong thunder and constant lightning. Judging by the fact that the guy got out on one of the highest points in the district, we can assume that the weather does not frighten him in the least. By the way, his name is Yahiko. At one point, he looks beautiful and menacing. This is the perfect combination for a guy. The style of clothing is restrained, a beautiful hairstyle and white hair. In general, this is the ideal of any woman. Today, thanks to the thunder of grief, the man will finally open the Dantian seal. This is such a part of the body located a few centimeters below the navel, the so-called genital area, the place of concentration of vitality. Yahiko stood and restlessly looked at the city that was in front of him. He could not believe that he would finally be able to break through the chi purification realm, which he had not been able to do for many millennia. Then his powerful disciples ran up to the guy, who went on a campaign with him. He was approached by his third student named Maiko, who apologized for her incompetence and notified the teacher that she would no longer be able to suppress what she was asked to do. The rest of the students also ran up and told the teacher that this passage to the city is a very dangerous undertaking. You need to think more gladly before doing it. Yahiko looked down on them and ordered everyone to stop talking. According to the guy, some of his disciples could have broken out of the shrine long ago, but because of him, they were doomed to remain in the Chinyan continent for thousands of years. This information did not upset them in any way. On the contrary, they were very grateful that now, because of the teacher, they can proudly be called emperors. The guys are ready to cultivate all their lives so that their teacher can finally remove the seal of Dantian. Yahiko, who has thoroughly studied all aspects of spiritual and physical development, has brought up the best representatives of the Chinyan continent for tens of millennia. But due to the innate seal on the guy's body, his level froze at the stage of chi purification. Break the seal with lightning, this is his last chance. The guy has long made a decision for himself, either today he will break the seal, or he will die. An electric dragon that flew in the sky, that was the man's goal. Gathering his thoughts, he jumped out to meet him. As planned, Yahiko received a powerful lightning strike, which unfortunately he could not survive. His disciples until the last tried not to worry. After all, they believed that in the whole world there would be no one equal in strength to their master, and he would endure everything. But unfortunately not this time. When the students realized that their master had lost his life, a strong panic began, a lot of screaming. No one could believe that this actually happened. Whole millennia of hard work, was it really all in vain? The guy will definitely never come to terms with this. Then when he hit the ground, his body disintegrated into a bunch of small particles. But this was not the end, but only the beginning. As much as 700 years have passed, it was the same city on which lightning reigns forever. On chains, all beaten up, in some dungeon hung a guy who looked very much like Yahiko. At the moment he is unconscious, the people who are next to him, I'm trying to wake him up by pouring a bucket of cold water on him. But it did not help much. The man still did not want to wake up. But what to do now? How to bring him to his senses? The girl who sat on the throne told him not to worry much about this, because the life of this guy is not so important. As it turned out, she has magical abilities, and tried to get information out of his head with the help of magic. All that could be found was to deprive a fragment from the Emperor's book. Such sword techniques are now useless. No one has been using them for a long time. The girl was upset that she had wasted her time, and ordered the servants to feed this body to the dogs. So he did. A few minutes later the body was already lying on the street. Suddenly the guy opens his eyes, and in an instant, he remembers all the brightest moments from his past life. He could not think that he would be reborn in another body. He was saved only by the fact that he managed to save a piece of his soul when the body disappeared forever, and now, after 700 years, a piece of the guy's soul finally ended up in the body of one of the descendants of the family to awaken memories of a past life. The best part was that the seal that had tormented Yahiko all her life had finally disappeared. The man remembered that the Luo family, always wanted to take possession of the secret sword techniques that his family possessed. In order to protect themselves, it was decided to betray this technique to Yahiko so that he could join the Luo clan and be there as his own. But on the wedding night, something happened. A woman named Maki took away the formula of the technique, broke the dantian, and cut off the guy's cultivation. She kept him in a dungeon, and every day she came to mock him. This is an act of a sick man on the head. Since Yahiko woke up, it's time for revenge and she's going to be very sweet. Meanwhile, at the home of the Gu family, they were trying to marry off a girl named Mariko. In this life she was Yahiko's sister. She really did not want to get married, and begged not to force her. At the moment, no one was going to listen. She was only told that Master Lin came to her personally. Because he respects and appreciates her, how can he be refused at all? Mariko was very confused, and could not hold back her tears. She did not want to accept the fact that now, just like that, she would be given away for a husband to some man once and for all. Then the elder said that he had chosen this girl for their joint marriage with Master Ling, so this matter was no longer up for discussion. After the words of the elder, the girl began to cry even harder. At that moment, Master Lin just laughed at her instead of trying to calm her down. He also said that he did not come here for consent, but simply to pick up a girl for himself. He was sure that in the Gu family, there would be no daredevil who was trying to stop him. He had absolutely no feelings for her, he just liked her appearance, and he wanted to make her his personal dog. Only God knows what awaits the girl if she gets into Master Lin's house. Two guys grabbed Mariko and tried to take him away in an unknown direction. But something didn't quite go according to plan. Sharp objects flew into the head of two guys, and they fell to the floor with no signs of life. The girl was even more frightened. Panic began in the hall. Ordinary people began to run away, and the mercenaries tried to find out who did it in order to attack in response. It was Yahiko who came to save his sister, and he also didn't like Master Ling's words that no one from the Gu family would resist, thinking that was a big mistake. Sister immediately got up and ran to hug her brother. She was very happy that she was not abandoned. But unfortunately there was no time to hug for a long time. An unequal battle was coming. Master Lin knew firsthand who came to him. This guy stayed in the dungeon for 2 whole years. But as soon as he returned, he immediately began to look for where he would lose his life. Such thoughts were noticeably in Lin's head. This fat man was so sure of himself that he offered for Yahiko to kneel down and watch his wedding night with Mariko. He still had no idea what was really waiting for him. After Lin said all his dirty words, he took up a sword and went on the attack. It seemed to him that he could cope with a single blow, but how wrong he was. At the same time, with the help of magic, Yahiko draws the sword of one of the servants to him. Thanks to this, the guy manages to deliver the strongest blow before Lin did it. As a result, this fat carcass flies in a completely different direction and begins to bleed red liquid. The battle was over before it even started. It's so easy and simple to say goodbye to your life if you imagine that you are God in this world. In fact, people were panicking not only because of the fight. Master Lin, who was very respected in these places, now when his close people find out about this incident, they will want revenge, and they will come to destroy the entire family. Yahiko called the person who said this rubbish, because in front of their own they act like wolves, and in front of strangers they just whine like little dogs. This fat freak forced all the people to pray for him and exalt, and no one wanted to do anything about it. How can you tolerate such an attitude towards yourself? The man who remained here in charge was very angry, and decided to speak out. He did not like the way Yahiko spoke to him, and he promised to take the life of the guy, so that he would later give his body as an apology to the elders for Master Lin. So he took out his sword, summoned the heavenly net technique, and attacked the boy. To protect himself, the guy uses the same technique, only his punch is several times stronger. After a few moments, Yahiko completely takes over the initiative. The old man no longer has the strength to hold back this flow. The guy said that the old man had already lived enough. It was time and honor to know, so he put even more strength into his blow and destroyed him. The man fell without any signs of life. People couldn't believe their eyes. What happened now was impossible because Yahiko is in the chi purification stage. How did he manage to separate the clan elder? He is one of the strongest people here. There was still a third elder in the lady, but he was not so eager to fight. His name was Toru. Between the guys there was a conversation about some book of the emperor. It describes an imperial-level technique based on the accumulated human martial skills, experience, and spiritual strength, helping him break through to the wisdom stage. The camera technique cultivated by the Gu family for generations is an ancient sword technique created by a true master in their family, also known as the creators of the imperial sword. It is a pity that the formula did not reach this time in its entirety. Only a fragment of it remained, which is why the clan of Gu falls into ever greater decline every year. But this guy's sword just worked like he knows the true formula. Is that even possible? After the battle, Yahiko approached his sister, hugged her, and said that soon everything would be over, you just need to wait a bit. Fragments from the mind of the original owner of this body is similar to their family's imperial scripture, because after using these techniques, this scripture seems very familiar. This technique must be the handiwork of the man named Ranmaru, is one of Yahiko's students. It was even difficult to imagine that after 700 years, the guy would be able to find traces of his students everywhere. I wonder why only a fragment. Is this really all that has come down to descendants? Having been reborn, the guy keeps countless secret techniques in his heart, including those of the emperor. However, the strength of this body is too small. The level of cultivation is not enough, so the guy cannot use these techniques to the fullest, otherwise it may end badly. Well, whatever it was, Yahiko decided to put an end to all this lawlessness. Toru turned out to be many times smarter than the previous elder. He managed to guess that Yahiko understood the true meaning of the family scripture, unless now someone other than him can be the head of this family. The answer was obvious, absolutely no one, because there are no equals to him here. In the end, everyone knelt down and welcomed the new head home. The guy was very pleased, but he said that he would not waste time on this. In the evening, the servants asked their elder if they would really have to recognize Yahiko as the head of the clan. His actions offended the entire Luo and Ling families. The elder replied that if he was recognized as the head, then all the responsibility for what had been done would fall on his shoulders. If in the end he managed to defeat everyone, then it would be possible to share his success with him with joy. And if not, then it will be possible to use the situation to get rid of it. In any case, the elders win. The guy is called the elder very wise, and promised to act on his instructions. This decision was really very logical. Let's see how it all turns out in the end. Meanwhile, Yahiko and her sister were going to their private house. Mariko greatly admired her brother. She said that he was magnificent. If this continues, no one will dare to mock them anymore. At that moment, the guy coughed violently. Red liquid began to come out of his mouth. When the guys entered the room, the sister tried to help in every way she could. She put the guy on the bed and waited for further instructions. He asked to speak a little quieter. It was impossible for anyone to know that the guy was feeling bad. This could lead to big problems. This body could not even withstand the blow of the sword. You need to return to the previous level as soon as possible. Otherwise you can completely accidentally take your own life. At the moment, it's better not to fight with magic at all. First you need to temper your body, then turn to the practice of true chi. After that, direct the flow of energy into the body to refine into spiritual strength in order to increase the level. Higher than the stage of the ascetic, there is also the stage of the celestial, emptiness. All that exists and the wisdom of Ajay from the stage is divided into 2 pages, and they, in turn, into 3 stages, the initial, middle, and the highest. If you break through the void, and the level of the monarch, then it will be possible to ascend to heaven. 4 tens of thousands of years, his past life, because of some kind of pitiful seal, the guy could not do anything, then he did not live, but only think about how to remove it. Having received this chance, he will surely compensate for the sorrows of his past life and get to the very top. The initial task is to harden the body in order to make the body stronger and improve its level, then it will become more resistant to magic. At this moment, the sister begged her brother to calm down even for a moment, and begin to follow the breath. She promised to be there and help in any way she could. This girl will not allow anyone to disturb her brother. The guy noticed that she is holding a dagger in her hand. Is she really ready to risk her life, just to try to save her brother's life? Well, it seems that after today's events, Yahiko has unleashed a war against the Lin family and the Luo family. You need to temper your body as soon as possible and prepare for the worst case scenario. First of all, you will have to choose this scroll as the main skill. Pumping it will be easier for the guy to protect himself. Yahiko has already gone through the stage of chi purification in a past life. This body is too weak. It is best to start by choosing practices aimed at improving the body. The practice of 10 freedoms was taken as a basis. When the purification process began, the book turned yellow, began to fly in the air and emit strong magical rays. With every minute they were stronger and stronger. Then the flow of energy became so strong that the guy began to scream in pain, and a huge yellow beam flew out of the house into the sky. He even made a hole in the ceiling. At that moment, the sister was walking on the street. When she saw this beam, she was simply in shock. Did the brother decide to break out of the realm of the new spirit? In the end, after the procedures, Yahiko was very happy, because it was the spiritual energy that he tried to attract many times in his past life. He finally managed to take possession of it. Meanwhile, in the enemy Xiaoyao clan, some kind of movement was starting. Their patron personally came to their house. The fact is that all these years that this clan exists, no matter what danger it is in, no one has ever responded to calls for help. I wonder who this person who managed to attract the attention of such a high-ranking person. There were rumors among the people that Elder Mo in Anyang adopted a disciple named Maki, who was able to break through the realm of youth at the age of 18. Maybe she is a genius sent from heaven, under the supervision of this patron. An order was issued to immediately send a letter to Elder Mo asking him to send here Maki, the genius chosen as the patron. Meanwhile, Yahiko and his sister were having a tea party. But before that, the guy decided to do a little meditation. Even with his eyes closed, the guy understood that his sister was looking at him very intently, so he decided to stop and ask Mariko to stop doing this. In fact, the girl just couldn't get enough of the fact that her brother had finally managed to break through the minor spirit realm. She was so happy. In a past life, the guy was obsessed with finding a way to remove the seal. He was not interested in interaction with other people at all. Now he has a sister, and he does not know how to behave with her correctly. Then the servants came to the room and said that they went to the guy with a question. Yahiko first told his sister to leave the room so she wouldn't hear anything. The boys reported that Maki had just arrived at the Xiaoyao clan. With the help of Elder Mo in addition to this, the elder installed the Xiaoyao clan order on the Lu family's home. Well, this chanterelle turned out to be quick. She needs an eye and an eye. But the main problem was not with her, but with the Xiaoyao order. It guarantees absolute protection. Even the emperor's family would have to ask permission to visit the Luo family. Yahiko didn't see any problem with this since he crossed Mr. Lin's way. The only thing left to count is helping the Luo family. But since Maki divorced our family unilaterally, we can probably forget about it. One of the servants began to tell that the Gu family was helpless at the moment in isolation. Therefore, after conferring among themselves, the guys decided that it would be best to pass on the full formulation of the sword technique to the Luo family, in order for our family to be safe. Yahiko did not tolerate such impudence, and immediately threw this cup right at the head of the one who said it. Since when did his wards decide that they have the right to make such decisions? The guy was very angry with them. Toru almost immediately noticed that the mane had moved into the middle stage of the minor spirit realm. The head informed his wards that the Luo family should be destroyed, and their head must definitely die. If someone does not want to take part in this, he can safely leave the Gu family. Everyone around was silent, and did not know what to answer. At that moment, the elder tried to understand what happened to the main one. He could not just take it and reach the middle of the kingdom of the small spirit in one day. Toru wanted to push him into an ill-advised war with the Luo family and reap the rewards of his decisions. But now if the chief does, then the elder's plan to seize power within the family will definitely fail. Therefore, It was decided to release him and hand him over to the Luo family. Firstly, if the guys grab their leader, then they will be able to curry favor with the Lu family. And secondly, this guy can be very useful to them. After that, the elder will be able to return power to his own hands. It's the same as destroying 2 birds with 1 stone. Before attacking, the elder said that even with the knowledge of the true technique of the sword technique formula, Yahiko barely broke through the lesser realm. Apparently, the elder was too hasty when he gave the boy his seat. For the sake of the future of the Gu family, he wanted to personally teach the chief a lesson. Yahiko reacted positively to this challenge and asked him to attack faster because he was in a hurry. Only after this phrase, no one wanted to attack. The guys were very scared. The elder called them a bunch of cowards and tried to raise morale by telling them that knowing the true formulas does not make him the strongest man on the planet. Without this knowledge, he is the most common garbage. When the guy got up, he immediately began to use magic so that the elder would understand which of them was actually trash. He also said that the wards turned out to be much smarter than their dumb elder. Toru, from what technique the chief started to use, he couldn't close his mouth in surprise. How those pitiful insects dared to question Yahiko's strength. They should be taught a lesson so this won't happen again. With one wave of his hand, and the guy let out a strong stream of wind that the servants broke through the wall with their bodies and flew out into the street. Of course, not everyone managed to survive. At least 4 people lost their lives instantly. The spirit power was simply wonderful, and worked flawlessly, not like those ungrateful servants. Yahiko told everyone else to collect the bodies, and then he would spare them. Mariko was the very first to approach the bodies, and picked up her blade. The locals asked her not to dirty her hands, but she did not listen to them. Defiantly, right in front of everyone, she inserted her blade into the ungrateful elder's mouth, and did whatever she wanted with the body. Then the girl said that her brother is too generous. But she is not like that. In the future, if someone dares to betray her brother, then these people will be finished once and for all. Every single one who was here swore never to hand over the chief. Initially, everyone thought that the most terrible here was Yahiko, but as it turned out, his sister is a real monster. The girl also said that she did not want her brother to find out about what had just happened. They all said well. When evening came, the girl huddled in a corner, crying heavily. For some reason, she was very scared, although after what she saw today, it's hard to believe that she even has a sense of fear. Her brother is working hard now. She wants to become a reliable support for him, and not let anyone bother him in the future. The next morning came. The first thing the guy went to the Immortality Pill Hall. This is one of the most important places on the continent. This hall has many branches throughout the continent. The best alchemists work here, who sell and buy elixirs, various growing resources and medicinal materials. Yahiko was greeted at the entrance by a very nice lady. In a beautiful outfit, she asked if she could help with anything. The guy replied that he wanted to sell the recipe for immortality pills. In order to improve his strength faster, he just needs to take this pill. Just in this place he can make it. This is the best option for a quick improvement. The girl asked to follow her. The people who were in the room immediately recognized the guy, but spoke about him not in the best way. They considered him ordinary garbage. They became interested in how a person like him could get something like this. Because this area already has its own genius from Anyang. This is the first-class Miss Ichigo. She was also the mistress of this hall. Yahiko said that he had brought something for evaluation and handed over the recipe. The girl was rather skeptical about this. It was clear from her face that nothing could surprise her anymore. After forgiveness, the girl burned the recipe and said that it was worth nothing. The guy, of course, was surprised at such a strange reaction, so he asked the girl how such a rare recipe could cost nothing. Ichigo said it wasn't even close to a recipe because she had never heard of the ingredients listed here. She thought that the guy just wants to deceive her and thus earn money. Yahiko called the girl incompetent in her business, since she cannot recognize such an elementary recipe. Apparently the title of the best alchemist Anyan, it's just a sound. The girl turned out to be very quick-tempered when the girl realized how confident the guy was in himself, invited him to quarrel among themselves. She really did not like that this vile misogynist dared to treat her with contempt. The principle of adding currents, both alchemists choose pills for production. Victory is awarded by the quantity and quality of the produced pills. The winner has the right to decide whether the loser lives or not. Without thinking twice, the guy agreed. This is a great chance for him to get a place in this laboratory. Now he will have a place to do alchemy. This impulsive girl, without knowing it, deserved a very good service. Then began a short tour. The equipment that is installed here allows for the production of high-level elixir pills. The participants here will be engaged in the manufacture of pills of the spirit of refraction of the second order. In half an hour the winner will be determined by quality. The pill of the second order is usually taken by a warrior. It helps to directly break through from the small spiritual realm to the heavenly one. Such a pill will definitely come in handy for a guy. With the help of an ordinary level, such a pill cannot be improved. Well, with the help of a special purified fire of truth, it's easy, even special efforts are not necessary. Yahiko used magic and used fire control technique. Cooking started automatically. Everything seems to be normal, but the fire is not much weak. One wave of his hand, and the stove was completely engulfed in purple flames. But that wasn't enough either. Ichigo couldn't figure out how that was possible. Why is her fire so weak today? The stove began to smoke heavily. The boy and girl could not understand what was happening. Everything came out. Master K's cries could be heard in the next room. Was it all over? All of the master's herbs were destroyed. And with such difficulty he obtained materials of the 4th grade. But what was the reason for such a weak fire? When suddenly Ichigo thought about what if you take a heavenly tablet, frosty leaf, earthen collection and well-on grass. Then all of a sudden you can do something about it. Were they real ingredients? But these were grade 4 herbs. How did the girl know about them? Because she is the name of the first level, and it was strictly forbidden to touch them. Had she found the recipe for an ancient pill? It is possible that thanks to him it is possible to make purification of the 4th level. The girl was extremely surprised. Judging by her face, the master realized that she again entered into an argument with someone. But Master K has long warned that meeting someone better than yourself is par for the course. And if you continue to rely on the title of the best alchemist in Enima, then by doing so Ichigo only insults his master. But the girl didn't care. Because in her opinion this guy is good for nothing. Even if he has the recipe, he will not be able to implement it as well as she. Ichigo again sat down and began to practice the fire technique. But Master K decided to support the girl and said that once he could not cope with the fire, and the cauldron was torn to pieces. It seems to happen to everyone. When suddenly a strong wind blew on the master and the girl, with lots of ash. Looking to the side, they saw that it was the guy's fire. But the questions remained the same. How could it be possible that his fire was so strong? It seems that it's not that the source of the fire is depleted, but that he concentrated its power at his cauldron with the help of a special technique. When Yahiko suddenly appeared with life in his hands, he made it clear that this life no longer belongs to them. Ichigo that it was a second-order pill. It is said that most second-order pills are far superior in effectiveness to third-order pills. It was the first time the master and the girl had seen the person who had cleansed them with such ease. Well, it was Yahiko himself who was not afraid to leave this world. And if the master defeated him, then he is ready to give his life. Ichigo was in her repertoire and began to taunt the guy. After all, who is he to her to communicate with the master like that? Master K immediately reassured the girl and introduced himself to the teacher of this ignorant girl. The master asked for forgiveness on her behalf, to which the girl instantly became angry. For the master, this behavior of the girl was the last point, and he hit her in the face. Yahiko seemed to recognize the master and his lineage, and then asked if he knew Akui. Akui turned out to be Master K's ancestor. How could the guy know him? But Akui was a rank 10 alchemist. Why, then, Master K was a third-rank alchemist in his years. But unfortunately the knowledge left by the ancestor was lost over time. Even though K was a direct descendant of the great alchemist, He knew only superficially about him, which he was very ashamed of. Yahiko was once due to Akui. Therefore, today he decided to repay his debt through the descendant of the Grand Master. He only touched the master with his 2 fingers when he only had time to figure out that the guy somehow knew his ancestor. When suddenly he gave him the knowledge that once belonged to the ancestor of Akui. Master K was grateful to Lord Yahiko. But at the same time, the master was shocked to use this technique. It is necessary to reach at least the 5th level of alchemy. Could this young man really be an ancient master? Yahiko didn't really know the Grand Master at all. Just once upon a time, a bunch of scum capable only of discussing and condemning people behind their backs began to mock the guy because of his practices. And at that moment, the ancient master Akui stood up for him. So now Yahiko paid his debt, but he couldn't imagine that Akui's descendants would be so weak. Well, what will happen to the girl now? Ichigo continued to behave badly and was ready to take her life, to which Yahiko became very angry and hit the girl in the face. She was shocked and very detached. How could he hit her? But the guy didn't care. The guy answered her that if her teacher indulges, this does not mean at all that the rest should do the same. In her 20s, she's just a level 2 alchemist. So what could be the reason for pride? If not for the master of the girl, she would have paid for her arrogant behavior long ago. Master K thanked Mr. for this lesson. And of course the girl started to behave badly again. Yahiko could not understand why he's messing with this girl. This technique is called family. If someone in the family falls asleep forever, or the Gu family is born, this technique is used to signal to all members of the clan. It's interesting what happened in the end. Meanwhile, at the Gu family's home, something terrible was happening. People from another family broke in and started torturing civilians. They were interested in where Yahiko is now. If a person did not answer, then he was deprived of his life. People did not answer this question, not because they were devoted to their main thing, but because they really don't know where it is now. In fact, everyone who fell under the hot hand lost their life just like that, and they did it so defiantly that the red liquid scattered all over the room and hit other people. As it turned out, the head of the Lin family, whose name is Rukia, burst into the territory of the Gu family. He ordered to take the lives of everyone in turn. In the end, one of them will tell exactly where the main one is. After all, Toru was right about something. To avenge the fat freak, they came pretty quickly, and brought a lot of grief. They also took the guy's sister prisoner. They were in no hurry to take her life, because she liked one very influential person who was determined to conclude a posthumous marriage with her. When suddenly Yahiko finally entered the house, everyone was waiting for him and wanted to be saved. The guy heard everything said about the fact that his sister again wants to be forcibly married to someone. This caused him even more anger. He promised that today in Anyang City, the Lin family would no longer exist. The sister could not restrain herself and shouted loudly, "Brother!" She was very frightened. Also, ordinary peaceful people greeted their king. Rukia was very surprised when he noticed that the boy was in the middle stage of the heavenly spirit realm. He immediately knew that today would not be easy for him. At the same time, the elder of the 3 clans ran up to the master and said that before the guy left the house, his level did not exceed the small kingdom. No one knows how he was able to raise it so quickly. Yahiko quickly got tired of listening to this elder's empty excuses, and threw a very sharp object at his head to shut him up. After that, his services immediately began to protect Rukia. It was surprising that one of them lived all this time in the territory of the Gu family, which meant that if there were traitors who constantly leaked precious information. Rukia told everyone to disperse. He wanted to deal with the guy in a fair fight one-on-one. He picked up his sword and ran to attack. The sword technique that he used is called the leader of the princes. It was clear that he was trying his best to win this fight. Yahiko was very reserved at this point, and when he repulsed the first attack, he asked his opponent how dare he show himself in front of him with such terrible martial skills. Rukia almost immediately felt the full power of this guy. He did not have enough strength to hold back his blows for a long time, and there were more and more of them. Despite everything, This self-confident jock did not lose his enthusiasm and continued to fight until he missed one strong blow. Mariko was a very smart girl and knew the skills of different clans. At the moment, the guy used the skill of the Xiaoyao clan. Only the elders can use this practice. How her brother did it is not clear yet. When the opponent had already begun to lose coordination, a crowd of his servants ran out to help him. Yahiko certainly didn't lose his head and destroyed them all with a single blow. Rukia and all the survivors made the decision to retreat and started moving towards the exit. The guy was so much superior to her enemy that she even managed to laugh at him while he was trying to escape. This is of course an act of a hero, to come to a strange house, take the lives of people, and after that run away in disgrace. But it was already too late, there would be no mercy. The head dealt the final blow with such force that all windows, doors, and in some places even walls flew out in the house. At that moment, Kei came up to the house. He heard that some kind of trouble had happened here, so he sent his alchemist warriors to help, but apparently they were a little late. The man was shocked when he saw this powerful explosion. When the guys went inside, they saw how Yahiko was standing on a whole mountain of bodies. He said that there was no trouble, but just a crowd of clowns came to his house and wanted to establish their own rules. Then, the civilians that the Lin family was about to take their lives finally came out. Seeing the distress signal, Kei immediately sent his people to help to support the Gu family, but he did not expect the Lord to deal with everything personally. Not only his alchemy skills, but his martial arts skills are also shocking. Kei then gave the order to his servants to immediately send the injured members of the Gu clan for treatment. Mr. Gu turned out to be a great man with his secrets that no one should know. Then his little sister ran to Yahiko and hugged him. She was very worried about her brother. When she realized that everything was fine, she hugged him gently. After a few minutes, she abruptly moved away from him and asked why the guy used that particular technique during the battle with the head of the Lin family. The girl suggested that her brother is still in a relationship with some bastard. If this is so, then her sister will never forgive him for this. There was only one problem. Yahiko didn't even understand who they were talking about, because he was only recently reborn in this body, so he didn't even know what to answer. After his sister, Kei approached the guy with almost the same question. The point was that Miss Lo had been accepted as a disciple by Elder Mo of the Xiaoyao clan. Therefore, it can be assumed that it was she who taught the guy this technique. The head could not believe that this technique had passed to the Xiaoyao clan after so long. Kei continued his story. About 3,000 years ago, Emperor Xiaoyao founded the Xiaoyao clan on Mount Palai, which at that time was the place with the strongest energy, which made the Xiaoyao clan one of the most powerful. The head replied that of course he knew about this story. Because it was he who chose the name for the clan, it is he who owns this formation. Therefore, of course, the guy will use this technique and not once, roughly speaking, it is his own. At that time, all the people greatly admired Yahiko and thanked him for saving him. But unfortunately, 700 years ago, the emperor mysteriously disappeared immediately after his ascension, so the enemies of the clan immediately came to avenge everything. Without their leader, the Xiaoyao clan grew weaker day by day. Eventually they were forced to retreat to the border of the wasteland. This place is now called the land of the Xiaoyao clan. The distance between the wasteland and Penglai mountain is very large. Previously, Yahiko had heard the elders mention the Xiaoyao clan, but thought it was just a coincidence or common similarity in names. But in fact it turned out that these people are descendants of the same clan. Probably in Xiaoyao something happened at the very moment when the guy was trying to break the seal. Everything happened at the most inopportune moment. If Yahiko hadn't gone anywhere, the clan wouldn't be in such a dire situation. After this story, the guy again wanted to bring this clan to prosperity. Yahiko decided to go to the trick and began to ask the master about whether the Luo family had a younger brother. The master told him that the only male descendant of the Luo family is called Aoki, and this man is known for his bad deeds in Anyang. But because of the power he holds in his hands, his family acts as the head of the 8 great families. No one has dared to oppose him until now. But apparently that time has come. Yahiko had a cunning plan to end all this chaos. The guy instantly fell off the meter and ran away in an unknown direction. While he was running, he asked to take care of the wounded people. Let all the people of Anyang understand what will happen to them if they dare to oppose the Gu family. Yahiko came just in time. Today the Luo family had a family banquet. Everything was beautiful, a lot of food, cheerful guests, nothing foreshadowed trouble. Today, many heads of different families gathered here, and they all congratulated Luo on receiving the protective order. Now, except for Anyang, they are not afraid of anyone. Compared to the rest of the main, Luo looked somehow old and tortured. You can't even tell from him that he was very happy about this event. As a gift to the chief, they brought such exquisite fruits as ginseng. In these parts it is very difficult to get it, it is a rarity. But for the sake of such an event, people found just everything. As soon as the guys sat down at the table, there was a strong explosion in one of the houses. Luo became very angry. He immediately wanted to know who dared to come here on such a beautiful day. Of course it was the work of Yahiko. He was pleasantly surprised that it is quite lively here, and you can take a good walk. The guy also did not come empty-handed. He had a special gift for the head. This is his son, who was badly beaten. Luo was very angry, and asked to immediately release his son. Also all the other chiefs asked to do this. Then in general everyone who had weapons became against the guy. It would seem that the situation is hopeless. Everyone demanded only one thing, to let their master go. Luo promised that if Yahiko let his son go now, he would make sure that his life would not be painful. In response to this, the guy said that the last person who tried to threaten him turned into ashes, so you need to be very careful with such statements. Apparently, the head didn't quite like it as a gift, then he'll have to give another one. Yahiko picked up the young boy and punched him in a very painful place. After what he saw, Luo was in quiet horror. He lost control of himself and began to attack the guy. He didn't care that his son was right in the arms of the one he was attacking. Fortunately, everyone managed to save. Yahiko threw the boy in the other direction, and he was not injured at the hands of his father. After that, Luo immediately ran to his son. He took him in his arms. The blow that Yahiko inflicted deprived the boy of his Dan Tian and the opportunity to improve. Roughly speaking, he put an end to him once and for all. Luo had just a terrible anger at the guy for this act. How did he even dare to do this to his son? Yahiko just pretended to be a fool and said that it was not his fault. It is solely the fault of the one who left his son without enhanced security. You need to think in advance about the safety of your loved ones. The wards promised their chief that they would bring him the head of this freak on the table. Yahiko's gaze immediately turned to those who said this. Are they really sure that with their low level they can somehow resist? Luo said that no one could ever destroy his family, especially with skills like Yahiko. Apparently, Luo wanted to get the guy's head with his own hands and was preparing to attack. He had not been seen in such a rage for a very long time. To collect all the energy in a fist, he ran to attack. Luo was certainly right about something. With a level like that of a guy, it will be quite difficult to fight. But not everything is as simple as it seems. The guy had his trump card up his sleeve, this treasure that Luo hoped to protect so much. Today it will become a weapon which will destroy him. The guy easily dodged the first attack. He felt absolutely calm, so he could adequately assess the situation. While Luo put all his strength into each blow, his opponent easily dodged. Yahiko gave his word that the Luo family would soon disappear once and for all. He then took the item he was talking about earlier and activated it. Roughly speaking, it was a time bomb. At first, it began to emit a bright red light, which symbolizes that the mechanism is running. No one could understand how the guy manages to control the Xiaoyao order bestowed on the Luo family. It was a real mystery. Luo also couldn't even imagine how the boy knew the order's formula. He was the first to understand what was about to happen, so he ordered the guy to be destroyed immediately, and all the servants ran into battle. But it was too late. The guy activated the item, and everything that was in its radius of action began to burn. It was a huge wave of fire that could not be stopped. Yahiko stopped the flow of fire right in front of Luo. As a result, he managed not only to activate the order, but also to take advantage of the high-level attack formation. Luo was completely exhausted, so he just fell to the ground. Yahiko approached him and gave one piece of advice: don't mess with the Gu family even after reincarnation, otherwise it won't end well. After saying that, the boy threw Luo's body up and punched him hard in the chest. All who were present from the civilian population fell to their knees and began to ask for forgiveness on behalf of the whole family. Since then, they recognized Yahiko as the head of the clan. The guy gave them half an hour to deal with all this, otherwise he will begin to take the lives of everyone in turn. At that moment a large-scale and quick cleaning of the territory began. After raiding the Ling family and the Luo family, a total of 70 spirit stones, 62 level 2 healing pills, 94 level 2 medicinal herbs, and weapons were obtained. All this was voiced by the second elder of the Gu clan, while the head was drinking tea, along with his loved ones. Kay listened to this and couldn't believe that the guy actually decided to destroy the Luo family as stated earlier. In addition, the elder reported that the representatives of 8 large families after the head to take over the payment of Anyang's taxes. It turns out that the Gu family lured influential families to their side. It seems that for the foreseeable future, this entire city will belong to the Gu family. The head informed that Anyang's hidden danger had been eliminated. Now he entrusts the affairs of this city to the second elder and his sister. After these words, the girl suggested that her brother was going somewhere again. It was clear from her eyes that she was already very worried. This time his target was Maki. After all, one fish from the Luo clan slipped through the nets. It must be found and destroyed as soon as possible. Since the guy does not speak aloud about his plans, no one knew anything. It was the silence that bothered his sister, and she asked directly why the guy was going somewhere. The girl did this not because she is hysterical, but because she sincerely loves her brother and worries about him. Yahiko chose not to answer this question, but answered another one that has plagued Mariko for a very long time. The guy said that all these years the girl could not practice at all because of poor health, but because of the chaotic celestial body in her. This information was heard by Kay. Since he was very fond of legends, he had information on this subject. In fact, a chaotic heavenly body, this is the most suitable body for cultivation. This is a true legend, but if a cultivator cannot activate their abilities with one of the 10 great spiritual treasures, then the spiritual power will not be able to calmly flow through the meridians of the soul and will not be absorbed. But after activation, the potential of the cultivator will be an order of magnitude higher than ordinary warriors, and this will give a significant advantage over them. Then the kid said he's got a lot to do, he can't always sit here and protect his sister. This time, he will go to the Xiaoyao clan to find a treasure there that will help unlock his sister's abilities in the Karachai terms, so that the girl can fully protect herself. Mariko was grateful to her brother. She is very pleased that he cares about her so much, so she hugged him tightly from joy. Yahiko is actually a little tired of these hugs, but he couldn't do anything about it, because this is his sister. Kay is also very worried about the guy, so I decided to warn him that the Xiaoyao clan most likely will not give up the treasure so easily, so you need to be very careful. The head asked not to worry, because he has a way to make them give the treasure peacefully. After some time, the guy was near Qian'an Mountain, and could not understand a little where he was right now. It is simply impossible to make a mistake, because even now the head feels the remnants of spiritual vibrations. The only thing he definitely didn't expect was that the fluctuations in spiritual power would be so weakened. It took quite a long time. When Yahiko got stuck to some arch, he used his magic and said aloud, "Open up." A portal appeared in front of him in which the guy immediately entered. At the exit, he was right in front of the Xiaoyao clan. Strong memories flooded into this place. When the guy lived here in a past life, he did not have to worry about the lack of spiritual energy, because there was always enough of it here. Yahiko also recalled how, together with his student, they caught and then used ancient mythical beasts as clan guards. Also, the ancient tree began to bear fruit after 300 years thanks to Yahiko. Then he left his relatives such a tasty piece of the earth. The most important thing now was not to be disappointed in his followers. returning here after so many years, otherwise they would not be greeted. When the guy came closer, he saw that the territory was now guarded by another guardian. Before it was an electric dragon, and now it seems to be a dragon for years. Looking closely, the guy noticed that a student of the clan, a girl named Sana, was fighting with this dragon. To put it mildly, she didn't do it very well. In the end, the dragon hit her hard and the girl began to fall down. Due to the fact that the head was nearby, he caught the girl and did not let her fall painfully to the ground, then make a remark that she handles the ball incorrectly, and immediately decided to show how this is done using an example. The man jumped straight into the huge water dragon. Why did he use the energy of chi to control the flow of the wind? In this case, he begins to move himself, where the suburb is the owner. The girl was simply shocked by what she saw. She could not understand how this stranger knew the technique of their clan. In the end, the dragon was defeated. Sana also decided to demonstrate how she can. At the snap of a finger, she was all on fire, and she felt good there. She could also quickly put out this fire around her. This is a pretty good talent if you learn how to use it correctly. Due to the fact that in a past life, Yahiko did not have the opportunity to break through to a new level, all he had to do was explain the theory to his students. Well now, thanks to the sufficient quality of spiritual energy, the guy can help other students to improve, ad infinitum. This girl had been stuck on the same level for so many years, and now she seemed to feel the energy of the wind and the sword pass through her. Sana was very grateful for being helped so much. Since the girl was already completely predisposed to Yahiko, he began to question her about everything he could. The first guy asked about Maki. The girl said that she was new. Along with other masters, she did a lot so that the students could take this blessed land for their holiday. In her head, the girl assumed that this guy was one of her subordinates, so she just told him about everything. Did Maki really immediately become an elder as soon as she got to auspicious land? Why asked how many people in the clan at the moment? The girl replied that there are 7 elders in the clan, more than 100 official students who are engaged in the affairs of the clan. There are still guards who mature as a student together. Mountain guards, these are students of a lower level, but they are absolutely loyal to the clan. After the information received, he immediately went about his business, did not even wait for the girl, despite the fact that she asked him to wait for her. Sana tried her best, but she could not catch up with the guy. She also understood that his spiritual level was not so high. The equivalent of fast travel is beyond praise. Initially, Sana didn't notice anything special about her, and now he uses a technique that exceeds all of her performance, as it is possible. The girl began to cry, talking about what necessarily gives rise to all the expectations of the master. Until today, the girl considered herself very fast, but against the background of the head, she feels like a turtle. He moved much faster. After taking the spirit pill, Yahiko used the cultivation method, thereby increasing the efficiency tenfold. Although the speed of practice is not so great, it is better to accumulate enough energy and lay a solid foundation. In any case, the girl has probably already understood everything. If this continues, that it would be possible to take her as a student, it is clear right away she would not mind. There are quite a few people with such a great desire to learn. The girl ran after him and understood that she had no right to miss such a person. The guys ran to Lingyuan Peak. Upon arrival, the girl thanked the master for not running away from her. Yahiko told her to work on her sword technique and dexterity first, then wait for him here. Before starting to do so, Sana informed that the Xiaoyao clan's ban does not apply to her. She can come and go as she pleases. Yahiko didn't answer her yet, and entered the portal silently. It turned out to be right after the Qianling River. Just there was also a tree that began to bear fruit after 300 years. Everything around is very beautiful, but there is one thing: the spiritual energy of this place has greatly weakened compared to what it used to be. As it turned out, there is a secret temple under the water, which can only be reached with the help of magic. You need to pave the way right in the middle of the river, push the water in different directions. Fortunately, no one destroyed it like the Lingyin temple. This room is made of a special spiritual energy crystal, so the spiritual power in it is inexhaustible. This is a real find for any cultivator. Compared to the past, the spiritual energy of this place is indeed depleted a lot, but in any case, this place is better than any other. With its help, the disciples of the Xiao Xiao clan can increase their level in the shortest possible time. While Guy was opening the corridor to the temple, he was attacked by a huge crowd of people from the Xiaoyao clan. But he was lucky that a girl secretly entered the portal with him. She began to restrain those who attack. The girl was accused of allowing a stranger to come here and violate the boundaries, and then destroy the source of spiritual power. Sana said that you shouldn't talk about the master like that. First you need to open your eyes, and then you can see how all the wars standing here are mistaken. Despite this painful story, the girl's guys did not immediately believe. How can one call a master who is the most ordinary cultivator with a consistent level of spiritual strength? How can this person be a master? According to the guys, the girl did not just calmly allow this master to cross the borders. Yahiko was tired of listening to this non-confiding tone of one of the students, so he decided to deprive him of his language. In his opinion, the blind idiot also needs a language. Unfortunately, the guards did not immediately understand that not every person in this world can, at a distance, perfectly accurately throw a sharp object directly into the tongue. Therefore, they ran to avenge their comrade. The guy really didn't want to fight with them, but unfortunately there was no other way out. They need to make it clear that it's useless. In just a few seconds, the guards lost about 10 personnel, and this is just the beginning. Some began to realize that this man is too strong, and if this continues, that all who are standing here will lose their lives. But unfortunately, one individual simply refused to understand this, and continued to send his subordinates to lose their lives. The guards took an oath. They must fight always and everywhere if this threatens their danger in the future. Sana stood in front of her master and began to ask the enemies not to be so impulsive. From the side, she saw that the guy did not have very strong and unpredictable techniques. If he loses his temper, he will not spare anyone who is here. Unfortunately, no one was going to listen to the girl. Their chief began to put pressure on the patient to remind them of their own duty of each guard. You must immediately seize the master and this worthless girl. Apparently, it's still not enough to take lives. It takes about the same amount more so that their commander finally conceives a metro map, which he generally does. At a distance closer than 5 meters, absolutely no one could approach. Everyone who put up some kind of resistance received a fierce rebuff. Bodies were already everywhere. Even in the water some were already swimming. The guards seemed to have calmed down a little. Yahiko decided to turn to the one who sent these people to certain death. This so-called head of the guards saw a stronger enemy, stepped aside and did nothing but send people into battle. Yahiko also added that these guardians have great potential, so he offers to join him for practice. Without hesitation, the guys agreed. First of all, everyone went together to the place for practice. Yahiko sat in the center, with everyone else around him. The guys were just shocked when they saw how the guy began to radiate the river spirit of the Xiaoyao clan. With the help of him, the guy began to distribute energy to everyone who was sitting near him. People could not believe their eyes. They began to feel how the energy passes through them. This is a real sword technique. The energy ran through the veins of every person sitting here. I wonder how he manages to train so many people at the same time. The girl was very worried that the masters were waiting for big trouble when the elders came here. As a friend, people began to tell how they managed to break through. They raised their spiritual level several steps at once. Far from one person could do this. Sana was very grateful to the master for his help. After so many years of exhausting training, the girl could not achieve any results, and thanks to the meeting with the master, she made great progress. Then sunny weather changes it to rain, thunder, and lightning. Yahiko that it was the thunder technique. Such practices are able to bring the amount of spiritual power to the limit of human capabilities. One has only to reach this mark, and no one else can prevent a person from comprehending the secrets of this universe. However, interference in the secrets of the universe causes displeasure in heaven. This must be taken into account. If you cross this line, then there will be a chance of success, but if not, whoever heavenly thunder will turn the body into dust. Sana was even a little scared. She asked the master to stop. No one expected that the result would be exactly like this. Before the boys leave this land, Yahiko wanted to see what they were really capable of. What kind of spokes sent them here? Disciples with such cultivation talent just to guard the borders. It's just terrible. It seems that the girl noticed the desire to take the lives of people in the eyes of the master. When suddenly there was a strong release of energy, which began to demolish people around. In a panic, everyone started to run away. Sana asked to leave as soon as possible, so that the thunder did not overtake him. Yahiko replied that as long as the girl is near him, she cannot be afraid of anything. The thunder will not overtake them. Why the guy, with the help of magic, protected each student with a transparent ball. He makes the person who is inside completely invulnerable. At least you can definitely not be afraid of thunder. Although the temple is no longer as full of energy as it was in the past, it is also completely sufficient. Yahiko asked his students to work harder on themselves instead of hiding behind some thunder. Perhaps if people knew that they would be saved, then they would work further, otherwise everyone was scared. Bewilderment had to be left for later. Now the most important thing is to concentrate and calm your mind, except that this is ordinary thunder. It is the answer of heaven to all prayers. The students didn't understand how it is possible to practice not only on their own. Is it really possible to accumulate thunder energy? Yahiko didn't reply and just started walking away. Sana begged to take her with him, but the guy said that the girl should practice on her own. This technique that the girl possesses will not bring him any benefit. It's a technique like thunder and lightning energy. It won't help a guy to increase his personal level. Processing this energy can greatly increase the power of cultivation, but only at low levels. Even though the level of the guy is not very high yet, he immediately went very far from them. After the lesson, the guys realized that the master had already comprehended this teaching a long time ago. It turns out all this time, he just showed in which direction the guys should move, and how to become stronger. The disciples were very grateful, and at parting bowed before him. Yahiko should hurry. Almost all of his descendants are at a high level. He won't be able to look them in the eye unless he breaks. Meanwhile, beyond the chapel of the Qianling River, the elders were moving towards the scene where the first fight had taken place. Information was received about a girl who not only allowed everyone to pass, but also persuaded the mountain guards to join her. All of them violated the ancient law, for which, as a result, the thunder of heaven fell upon them. It was they who came up with such a legend. Where there was a lot, and go they're pretty scary. The Xiaoyao clan has rules. If one of the students breaks through to the level of a celestial, he can immediately claim the place of an elder. This cannot be allowed. If this happens, it will disrupt the entire system that has been built over the years. When the elder arrived in the territory, he asked Sana and 3 other disciples to hold him somewhere else. The girl did not yet understand what purpose this was done. When the elder came to them, he called the girl a devil, and said to come here. They all explained what they had arranged here. When the elder saw the level of the celestials, he was simply shocked. How is it even possible, in such a short period of time, to raise all the students by 1 or 2 spiritual levels? Even if only one of the guards were torn, then this would already be from the category of myths. But whatever, this is not possible at all. Well, unfortunately there is nothing to be done. The elder fell to his knees, and said that he welcomed the new elders. But how did they do it? Even with the use of the river's power source, this bunch of disciples couldn't break through so fast. The elder was tired of listening to this mad young man. In order to shut him up, he had to punch him right in the face. You need to open your eyes, and then it will be possible to understand that the energy of the river has become many times stronger, which is probably why all the students were able to raise their level so quickly, and not some guy flew in and gave everyone energy, as was said. The elder apologized for this lawlessness, told the students that he caught a student who began to tell some bad legends about everyone in order to get some benefit for himself. He gave the children the right to choose what to do with this scoundrel. The students said that they can do anything. In the end, he was beaten by the whole crowd. for the fact that he allowed the growth of energy in the river. Now all these students are elders in terms of spiritual development. So they beat him with all their might. Things were bad. The girls somehow found out that several clans were heading straight for them. So they slowly ran to the master to inform him. Due to mass practice, the energy began to fluctuate, which attracted the attention of the representatives of the 3 clans. At the moment they won't like it here. What to do now? Yahiko, of course, was not very happy about this news. Usually these clans come together to pay tribute. They are friendly with each other. But this is only at first glance. In fact, they are ready to attack at any moment.